Hello and welcome to today's episode of Retirement Clarity Radio. I am your host, Scott Newhouse, and I am so excited that you're here. Today we're going to be wrapping up our Medicare series, and today's episode is going to be focused on how much does Medicare cost. Now, I know you've been paying into Medicare for decades, and you might think it's free. Well, as we talked about in our previous episodes, it's not free. There's actually costs associated with Medicare even after you sign up for it. So, if you want to learn more about how much Medicare is going to cost, you've got to listen to all of today's episodes. Also, I've got a nice little offer for you. I've actually written three books, but two of those books focus partially or wholly on Medicare. And so there's 10 steps to getting what you deserve, a guide to your Social Security and Medicare decisions, as well as 65 questions to ask and answer before you retire. If you want either of those books for free, you can go to freeretirementbooks.com. Again, just go to freeretirementbooks.com. You're going to see links to get it on Amazon for a very cheap price, or you can get it for free, and you can get a little PDF download. Now, without any more further ado, let's dive into how much Medicare costs. Now, we all know, as I said just a little bit ago, you've been paying into payroll taxes to fund Medicare for decades, but you still are going to have to fork over some money. According to the most recent studies by Fidelity, they do great studies on Medicare cost and health insurance cost in retirement. The typical retiree from age 65 for 30 years can expect to spend around $5,000 a year on medical expenses. Now, I want to break down some of those costs because I think that's going to be the easiest way for us to understand it, especially considering that Medicare has different parts A, B, C, and D. We've gone over that in the previous episode, but today's episode I want to talk about the costs for each of those specific parts. So let's start with Part A. Part A typically does not have a premium if you've paid into Social Security for 10 or more years, i.e. 40 quarters. So for overwhelming majority percent of people who are going to be taking Medicare Part A, the premium is going to be $0. Now, if you haven't paid into Social Security that long, your prices could range anywhere from $52 a month all the way up to $471 a month. That's if you have not paid into Social Security, and there's a little bit of a sliding scale there. But again, you should see on your Social Security benefit statements if you've paid in enough quarters, if you've worked enough quarters to get that 0% premium. Now, there are some other costs associated with Part A, and the first one is our deductible. Now, you have, and this is as of 2021, these numbers change every year, so if you're listening to this in 2022 and beyond, you got to check for the most updated numbers. But the deductible for Part A of Medicare is $1,484 per benefit period. Now, I emphasize benefit period because a benefit period is actually 60 days. Once you've used up your benefit period, and then, for instance, let's say you have another hospital stay, well, then you have to use you have to do a deductible again. You have to pay the deductible again if you have a new benefit period, which again is 60 days. So that's one part of the cost of Part A, is that $1,484 per benefit period deductible. The second part are copays. So there's different copays depending on what you need. First, we'll talk about hospital copays, then we'll talk about skilled nursing facility copays. So a copay at a hospital ranges depending on how long you stay there. So days 1 to 60 of your hospital stay, there's a $0 coinsurance amount for each benefit period. Days 61 to 90, you have a $352 coinsurance per day of each benefit period. And then days 91 and beyond, it's $704 per each lifetime reserve day. That's after days 90. And then you get up to 60 more days of a lifetime reserve day. So in other words, you have 60 lifetime reserve days after you've hit the end of those 90 days, but that's for your entire lifetime. So days 91 and up to days 150, you have to pay $704 for your co-insurance for each day. Sorry, that's a little confusing. I stuttered my words a little bit there. But basically, days 91 to 150, it's $704 per day. And then after your reserve days are gone, and you only have 60 reserve days for your lifetime, you have to cover all of the cost. Okay, hope that makes sense. You might want to listen to that over again just to make sure you got it clear. Now, the skilled nursing care facility has different copays. Your first 20 days in a skilled nursing facility, you actually don't have to pay a copay at all. However, days 21 all the way up to 100, you have to pay $185.50 per day of each benefit period, and then days 101 and beyond, you have to cover all of those costs. So Part A premium, it's really not that bad. And for most people, it's going to be $0. I can afford that. Now, the problem with Part A is you're going to have those deductibles as well as you're going to have copays. So you've got to plan for that. And we're going to talk about options to plan for that in a little bit. Now let's move on to Part B. Part B, the standard premium is $148.50 per month. And it also varies on whether you're receiving Social Security as well as your income. If your income's too high, and we're not going to get into the calculations in this episode, but if your income's too high, you could be paying a higher rate than that $148 per month. And it goes actually all the way up to $504.90 per month. That's for really high earners, but even if you're a modest earner, you might have to pay more than $148.50 per month. There also is a deductible for Part B, and that deductible is $203 per year. So that's not that bad, $203 per year. Once you've reached your deductible, you'll be responsible for 20% of the cost of covered supplies and services, i.e. your co-insurance amount. And again, we've gone through Parts A and B. There's a way to minimize those costs, or at least stabilize those Parts A and B costs. It's typically going to be through Medicare Advantage or a Medigap Medicare supplement policy. And those are two different types of policies that you can get, although you're not required to get them, and we'll talk about them again later on in this episode. And actually, Medicare Advantage is Part C. So Part C is Medicare Advantage. We'll talk about this right now. Again, it's an insurance policy offered by private insurers, and the cost is going to vary by plan and by the insurer. And so I'm going to give you some ranges as well as some averages, but really you got to go to medicare.gov and search for Medicare Advantage plans that you might be interested in to see the specific pricing. But the Center for Medicare and Medicaid estimates that the average premium for a Medicare Advantage plan, which again is optional, you can add it on to original Medicare, is $33 per month. Some Medicare Advantage plans are actually $0 a month, and so you get them premium free, and then obviously you have co-insurance, co-pays, and deductibles. And then the range can go all the way up to $481 a month for Medicare Advantage plans if you want more of the bells and whistles. Now, again, deductibles, co-pays, and the co-insurance amounts are going to vary by plan policies. There also, I should point out, is an out-of-pocket limit for Part C plans, and so it cannot exceed more than $6,700 per year for in-network services and $10,000 a year for out-of-network services. And the Kaiser Family Foundation estimates that the average out-of-pocket limit is around $5,060 per year. That's all variable by plan. I don't have enough time, and I don't think anyone has enough interest to go through all of the plans, but those are some averages about what Medicare Advantage / Part C would cost you if you want to get that in addition to Parts A and B, which are also referred to as original Medicare. The last part, the second to last part we're going to go over is Part D. That's prescription drugs. So prescription drugs, you can actually buy policies to share the cost with an insurance policy, an insurance company that's approved by Medicare. According to one of the studies I was reading earlier, the average premium for Part D is around $43 per month. However, you've got to be enrolled in Medicare Parts A and B, original Medicare, in order to get Part D. Now, there also is a deductible that is, I think, pretty affordable, but Part D limits deductibles to $445 per year or less. So you're not going to pay more for those deductibles. But again, if you want to find out exactly the policies that would be best for you, especially with the prescription drug needs that you might have, you got to go to Medicare.gov. That's where you're going to be able to find the specific policies. But again, Medicare Part D, I've found the average premium to be around $43 per month, and then you're going to have a limited deductible of $445 per year or less. Now, last thing that we're going to talk about in today's episode is Medigap/Medicare Supplement. Those are the same things. Just like Medicare Advantage, it's an optional policy that you can get through private insurance companies that have been approved by Medicare. So, Medigap/Medicare Supplement, as I talked about in one of my previous episodes, it's more of an all-encompassing plan. And frankly, this is a plan that are for people, these are plans who are for people that might be willing to spend a little bit more to get more coverage and more benefits. So when you pay for Medigap, it's going to cover things potentially like your deductibles for Part A and B, your co-insurance or your co-pays for Parts A and B, any excess costs that come up for Part B, so that 20% co-insurance, it could cover that. It could cover some healthcare costs during foreign travel. That's really important because I know a lot of people retiring, they want to travel internationally. And then it could also cover blood services. If you're at the hospital, you need to get blood drawn. It could cover that as well. So you pay the Medigap policy, the Medigap plan, and then you don't have to worry potentially about the deductibles, co-insurance, co-pays, etc. So now you kind of see why you're going to pay a little bit more for Medigap / Medicare Supplement, but you're going to get more. You're going to get more benefit. Now, the premiums and the cost for this, it's a really confusing because one, there's 10 different types of plans, and it goes A, B, C, D, F, G, K, L, M, and N. So those are the different types of Medigap policies, but then also there's different ways that these companies come up with the pricing for those policies. This is where it gets even more confusing. So there's 3 different ways that they can set the pricing. It can be community rated, where everybody just buys a policy and they pay the same monthly premium regardless of age. Pretty simple. Everyone's paying that same flat rate. The second way they set policy prices for a Medigap policy is issue age rated. So monthly premiums are tied to the age at which you first purchase a policy, so younger buyers are going to have those lower premiums, and premiums don't increase as you get older. Then the third way is attained age rated. And so your monthly premiums, and this is a nice way of saying it's your monthly premiums are tied to your current age. And so that means your premiums are going to go up as you get older, as the insurance company feels like you're more at risk. So again, there's different ways that Medigap / Medicare Supplement are going to price their plans. It's going to be first option, everyone pays the same monthly price. Second option, you're going to lock in your price. The sooner you buy it, the lower premium you pay, and your premiums don't increase. And then the third way is, as you get older, your premiums are going to go up because the insurance company feels like you're more of a risk, going to be using more plans. So that's pretty much the broad overview of Medigap and Medicare Supplement policies. There's one last plan that we're going to go into, and that's a Medigap policy, Plan G. Let me just pull up the numbers right here. Plan G is actually a really popular one, and as I said before, the reason why some Medigap plans are popular is because they're more all-encompassing. And so I just ran the numbers as a 65-year-old male, not smoking, looking to sign up for a Medigap policy. I'm going to run through the numbers with you, and then we'll call it a day because we're getting long on this episode. So the monthly policy the premium numbers that I saw on this Medigap policy is ranging anywhere from $126 a month all the way up to $270 a month. However, and so that cost is going to be in addition to your Part B $148.50 a month. So you're going to have to pay the Medigap, plus you're going to have to pay the Plan B policy. Now, the benefit, though, of paying those two different premiums is that your hospital Part A deductible is going to be $0. Your Medicare, your Part B deductible, it still will be that $203 a month. $203 per year deductible. But your Part B copay and coinsurance is going to be nothing because you're paying for that Medigap policy. So that's a really big benefit. You don't have a Part A deductible and you don't have Part B copay and coinsurance. Also, your covered services in terms of Part A is that you won't have to pay any copays for any hospital stays or skilled nursing care facilities. So if you remember those, the hospital copays, skilled nursing care copays with Part A, you're not going to have to pay those at all when you're on the Medigap/Medicare supplement G plan. Plan G is what it's called. So you're paying those monthly premiums to Plan G, and then you don't have to worry about the copay, coinsurance, and some of those deductibles in Plan A. And so that's pretty much the main things that I want to run the numbers that I want to run through you for this Plan G. Again, you're going to have a monthly plan of $126 all the way up to $270, but you're not going to have to worry about copays or the deductible for Part A. You will have to pay the Part B deductible, but you won't have to worry about any Part B copays and coinsurance. So that's kind of the overview of how you can pay for Medigap and Medicare supplements. And this is a good overview, of how much different services in Medicare are going to cost you when you get to retirement age. So, and also, as I said before, make sure you just do some research on the updated numbers for when you get to this, because these numbers do change every single year. So that's all I've got for today's episode. If you want to learn more, go to freeretirementbooks.com. You can get copies of all of my 3 books on retirement planning, and then make sure you like and subscribe, retirementclarityradio.com. You can find us on YouTube, just type in Scott Newhouse, and you can go to retirementclarity.com to listen to the podcast. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for listening. As a reminder, you should consult with a financial advisor familiar with the specific circumstances of your unique financial situation before making any financial decisions. Nothing in this podcast is a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mentions of rate of return are hypothetical in nature and not a guarantee of future returns. Scott Newhouse, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Forthright Finances, a California and Nevada registered investment advisor.